Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a jam up good day. If it's just getting started, I hope it's a good one. If it's just continuing on, I pray it's the same. Was reading this morning in the Beatitudes. I was in Matthew chapter 6. The Beatitudes are obviously where Jesus tries to explain what his kingdom is like and how it differs from the world's point of view. And in Matthew chapter 6, he starts talking about worry. He says, don't worry about tomorrow, because today has enough worries of its own. Don't worry about what you're going to eat, because God provides food for the birds. And don't worry about what you're going to wear. Think about how God provides the beauty of the flowers out in nature. And if God provides that for the birds and for the flowers, how much more is he going to provide for you, his most valued creation? That's what we are. God's most valued creation. So why worry? Now, obviously, worry is a natural part of who we are as human beings. But we have a commandment not to do so. So when I worry, am I sinning? No, I'm not. It's natural to worry. That's how God designed us, to worry about things. But what he's talking about in these verses are worry that dominate our thoughts. They dominate our thoughts. Today's society, we'd probably call it anxiety. We worry about it so much that it affects our health. And what God is telling us here is, don't worry about the material things of life, because your Heavenly Father will provide you with what you need. When I think about what we worry about most of the times, and why God's telling us not to worry about those things, most of the things we worry about are totally out of our control. We have no control over them anyway. So God's telling us, if you have no control over something, why would you worry about it? Because when you do so, it's going to adversely affect you. And the other key part is, it affects my faith when I worry about things, especially things that I can't control. Faith is believing that God will provide what God said he would provide. So in these verses, Jesus is telling us, I'll provide the food and I'll provide the clothing. I do it for the birds and the wildflowers, and how much more do I love you? That's a promise. So what is faith? Faith is believing that God's promises will come true. Now, here's the part about it that we can sometimes construe. Faith is not sitting back and believing that God's going to take care of everything. We have a role to play. Let's use the example he used. I provide the food for the birds. Yes, he does. But the birds still have to get up and gather the food. The early bird gets the worm, we've always heard. Well, that's right. He's got to get out of his nest and go get the worm. It doesn't just fall in his mouth every morning. He doesn't just wake up and God says, okay, open up, I got a worm for you and I'm going to drop it in. We have a role to play in providing our needs. Yes, God is the ultimate provider, but we have to get out and do it. We have a role to play. But back to why we shouldn't worry about our needs. Well, first of all, I'm not a good judge of what I need. I'm a good judge of what I want, but I'm not a very good judge of what I need. Because in my mind, somebody say, hey, Kevin, what do you need? Well, I need $10 million. No, you don't. I don't need $10 million. I'd like to have $10 million, but I don't need it. I have everything that I need. And the problem with us construing those things is that God understands that when we focus on those, what we consider to be needs, then we rely on those, and they will ultimately let us down. Anything in this life that is not of God will ultimately let us down. And when we focus so much on those things, and when they let us down, not if, when they let us down, we're just destroyed. We get discouraged. And what we find ourselves as humans doing is moving from one thing to the next because that thing let us down. So let's move on to something else, which is ultimately going to let us down too. That's what happens. Man, I like to have a new truck, and if I can get me a new truck, then I'll be happy. And you will be, probably, till the first payment shows up. And then you'll be going, well, I didn't realize, why did I buy that truck? It's a human response. It's what we do. We think we can feel this hole in our heart that God put in there to long for Him with other things. I can't fix that hole in my heart that will only be fixed when I seek God with a new truck. And I can't fix it with a new boat, and I can't fix it with I can't fix it with $100 million. It can only be fixed by seeking Him and trusting Him. That is the only way that hole that He put there can be filled. And it's in every human's heart, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. Everyone has that hole in their heart that can only be fixed and fulfilled with a relationship with God. I know this because that's the way it was in my life. I filled it with activities and things, thinking that they were going to satisfy me. But the only thing that could truly satisfy me was a relationship with Him. That new truck that I bought every year or so, didn't do it. That boat that I had, didn't do it. The many things that I went through and wasted money on, didn't do it. Never could, because it was impossible. It's the old saying, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. But that's what we try to do. We try to fix that round hole that longs to have a relationship with God with a square peg. And we call it different things. And we think if we try hard enough and keep forcing things there that it's gonna somehow be filled. But it never will. It never will. We have to trust Him to provide for all of our needs and to direct our paths. And when we do that, we suddenly start to fill that hole. that longs to have a relationship with God. Each and every day we fill it up. I hope that's what you're doing today. I hope you're filling that hole. I hope you're having that time of prayer and reading and just talking to God. You know, sometimes we overcomplicate prayer. We think we've got to, say things a certain way. No, all we've got to do is talk to God. He's listening, I promise. But we have to have that relationship with Him so that we can be connected. It has to go through the cross of Jesus Christ. And then He's all ears. That's my prayer for you today. Just let's try to fill that hole with what it needs to be filled with. God bless you.